Welcome to Meadowbrook Memories Podcast. I am Jelly, otherwise known as Glacier Prince, and my co-host is Hitchcock, otherwise known as Alfred Henry. Our mission on this podcast series is to explore the stories behind the magic that was created at Meadowbrook. When over a span of 4 years, between 1982 and 1986, we saw the transformation of a small coeducational school with less than 1,200 students, 800 boys, 800 girls and 400 boys into a successful sports and scholastic champion, winning 7 major trophies, 3 Sunlight Cup, 2 Topping Cup, 1 Walker Cup, and 1 Nutriment Shield. And to crown these achievements, Meadowbrook also produced 2 Rhodes Scholars, Cavell Creighton in 1987 and Andrea Wright in 1989, both graduates of Meadowbrook in 1983. In this podcast series, we'll be speaking to persons, both males and female, who were actively involved in this incredible journey, along with friends and staff at Meadowbrook, which inspired the environment which created this golden era. We hope you enjoy our discussion. Please give us as much support and encouragement as you can on whatever social media platform you are listening. Welcome and thanks for joining us. Alright, ready? Go. Today is Monday, November 28, 2022. And welcome back to another conversation about Meadowbrook memories. Me, as usual, Jelly, our Glacier, our Lance, our Prince, and by now, any one of those names will do. Our co-host today, we have on this conversation. I've been on this conversation before. Our first co-host today is Helen Barber Bramley, who I consider the bravest biology teacher to ever teach at Meadowbrook. Was a co-worker at Meadowbrook with our special guest. And her conversation can be heard on episode 17. That is Mrs. Bramley's conversation. Our next co-host has been on this conversation as a guest and also as a co-host before. Was a student of our guest tonight. So we welcome back Margaret Livermore, and her conversation can also be heard on number 23. Our guest tonight, our special guest tonight, started in Meadowbrook as an intern in 1977 from Charter Teachers College, and she went on to stay until 1988, where she was head of the mathematics department. As I have said on these conversations before, Meadowbrook is like Hotel California. You can check out anytime, but you can never really leave, because our guests came for internship and spent an additional 10 years. But she's here tonight to give our full story of why that happened. So without further ado, let me introduce Miss Sonia Nevins to our conversation. Introduce yourself, Miss Nevins, and welcome.
Thank you. Well, I'm Sonia Marjorie Nevins, and I attended the Shorter Teachers College, after which I went to Meadowbrook High School, where I spent my developing years as a teacher. I don't know what else to tell you. That Meadowbrook has been, for me, a number of things. And so I have never really gotten Meadowbrook out of my system. As you know, those were the foundation years. And so I was a part of the cadet, let me say that. I was a part of the cadet unit. And of course, I was groomed by Mr. Gooden, the head of the maths department at the time. I was there. I started with Mr. Thorpe, and then Miss McLennan was my principal.
Yeah, man. We'll get into that, Miss Nevins. We will get into all
Right.
of that. Don't worry, we'll get into all of that. So, Mrs. Bramley, reintroduce back yourself for us.
Right, so I'm Helen Bromley, formerly Helen Barber. Some of the Meadowbrook students may know me as Helen Barber, Miss Barber. But then I got married in 1980. So I was at Meadowbrook between 1977 to 1984, and I taught general science and biology. So, yeah, and still a Meadowbrookian, I guess you can call me that.
Yeah, man. Welcome back. Welcome back. And Margaret Livermore, introduce yourself. Reintroduce yourself.
Yes, so I am Margaret Livermore, class of 83, pardon me. I did spend an extra year in 84. Both of these ladies taught me. I admired them both, and it's such a pleasure to be on this particular podcast with both of them.
All right. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you. Thank you. And Ms. Nevins, I'm not sure if you know or are aware, but by now, there's a first question I ask all the people who come on this conversation. It's not a podcast. I say it's a conversation. I just start talking. And the question I ask everybody who comes on is, did you choose Meadowbrook or Meadowbrook chose you?
I would say Meadowbrook chose me because at the end of my time at Shortwood, I was asked to go to St. Hilda's, which was my former school, but I was a little bit hesitant, and so I was sent to Meadowbrook. So Meadowbrook chose me.
So you had no idea where Meadowbrook was before then?
No, I'm a country girl, you know.
Oh. Okay.
I'm really a country girl. I am from St. Anne.
Yeah.
So no idea of Meadowbrook. So Meadowbrook really chose me.
And St. Hilda's was an all-girls school?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so you went to a co-ed school. That must have been some baptism for you, going to a co-ed school, moving from an all-girl environment.
All-girls college and all of that as well.
Shortwood Teachers College, is that an all-girls college?
Yes, it was at the time. Now they have some male students there, but in my time it was all ladies.
I wasn't aware of that at all. That is news to me. That is the news. That's news to me, Miss Nevins. So on the first day you went to Meadowbrook, when you chose, so Meadowbrook pick you then, that's what you're saying. You wanted to go back to St. Hilda's. And Meadowbrook requested
No.
you.
Well, they wanted to send me to St. Hilda's, but I was a bit hesitant because that's the school I was coming from. And so because I know I would have all my teachers there, I don't think I would be very comfortable in that environment. So I expressed that to my supervisor, who then sent me to Meadowbrook.
Okay. So Meadowbrook really chose you then. So why do you think they picked Meadowbrook for you? You don't have no idea?
I have no idea, but...
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
I don't have any idea, but Meadowbrook was close to Mr. Gordon, who was my supervisor. Okay. I don't know.
Okay, I got you. So, by the way, Miss Nevins, and I don't know if Miss Barbara might can answer this. I'm curious. This is just a curiosity question for me. How old were you when you started teaching at Meadowbrook in 1977?
I was 21 going 22.
Wow.
23.
How old are you, Mrs. Bramley?
23. I was 23.
Okay. And looking back at the time, I didn't realize that the age difference was so close. So I had no idea. No, I'm looking back at it. That's why I asked the question. That's just a curiosity question on my part. But yeah. So when you arrive at Meadowbrook, Miss Nevins, sorry, what impression you get the first day you stepped on the campus?
Well, I was a bit nervous. That's the first thing. And I went to Mr. Thorpe, who introduced me to the other members of staff, and Mr. Gooden was my immediate supervisor. So he was the one who took me in his care. And of course, it's finding your way. I think we had a very supportive set of persons there. And so they helped to make things much easier for us.
So who were some of the teachers that came, the staff members who you met on the first term at Meadowbrook, who you remember?
Remember Mr. Dean? I don't know if I don't remember if he was there at the beginning, but I remember Lennox. Those are some of the persons that are Neville.
Mr. Beckford.
And yes, Mr. Beckford. And there was Celia Jones. There was a Celia Jones there.
I remember, yes. Margaret
Yes.
sister, yeah.
Yeah, there was Celia there. Mrs. Morris, of course, and Miss Nelson. All of those persons. And there was Barvell Banks.
Yes, I remember a Meadowbrook former student that from
He was
Meadowbrook.
a former student, yes.
She was there when I started Meadowbrook. I know you're talking about, yeah.
And of course, Miss Barbara Bramley. Yes, we were there.
Right. Was
In those.
time? Enid Griffith, she was there at the time?
No, Mrs. Griffiths came after me.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Mrs. Griffiths came afterwards. But Grace Park, those persons were there. She got married and named Nelson after a while. But those were some of the persons that I remember. Mr. Bell Davis and so on.
Yeah.
Shane Foster and Ruth Gillis and I went to college, and she was also there as well. And Miss Runcie.
Oh yes, I remember. She was living in Pembroke. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Right, Miss Runcie.
Yeah. I remember she teaching there too, for sure. Yeah. So you came as a maths teacher, Miss Nevins.
Yes, I did maths. I actually did maths and science at college, but it was mathematics that I did when I was at Meadowbrook.
Yeah, and that wasn't that kind of. I mean, that's so unusual that a female like maths and is good at maths like you were. Did you have a challenge when you started teaching that the student look on and say, "But how can a woman know maths?" Was that a challenge for you?
Well, what we did, in my time, what I did, you had to prepare. Preparation was the key. And so I prepared all the questions that I had to give my students because I found that the students were very brilliant. And so I prepared well. I think that is what kept me going. Work all the questions so that there were no surprises. When you go, you work the questions that you plan to give the children and so on. So I think that is what worked well for me at the time.
Yeah, I didn't come to the classroom unprepared. I tried teaching for a bit. And, I went unprepared. Maybe that's why I didn't last long. So I didn't love it like you. Go ahead, Margaret. Sorry.
I was just laughing at you, Jelly. Sorry.
No, I taught for about a year, 18 months, but it wasn't my calling. I put it that way. It wasn't my calling at all. So God bless both you and Mrs. Bramley for taking on the teaching at such a young and tender age, and for taking it on.
Amen to that. Because Mrs. McLennan, when I was leaving high school, tried to convince my parents to send me to teachers' college, and I said no, I couldn't do it. And now as an adult, I realized that my unconventional way of thinking would not have worked.
So yeah, no, we put it that way, Margaret. So Miss Nevins,
yes.
Did you always wanted to be a teacher?
Back in our days, let me say, you had very little choices. What we knew about in terms of career was like teaching, nurse, doctor, lawyers. Those careers were the ones that we knew. And so teaching was maybe the natural thing for me.
Yes, that's true, because they expected women to be teachers or nurses.
Exactly.
Prince.
Yes.
I have a bone to pick with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to question that about how Miss Nevins good at maths and it sounds surprised. I mean, I understand.
No, I'm just keeping it real, Mrs. Bramley. No mistake already. I mean, I'm just asking the question everybody upon the mind because it's very unusual. And that it might change a little bit these days, where when I'm call it the STEM.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm just asking. I'm never keep it real, Mrs. Bramley. You know that already.
Oh man, that is a fallacy, man.
It is. Well,
No,
you know,
man.
both are here.
Yeah, Mrs. Bromley, you're actually right, but you know what? At the time, that's how they trained people to think that women couldn't do science and math.
Yeah, okay, because I did science at university.
Yeah,
Anyway,
man, them did act like say we never bright enough for them subject there. Although I'm not gonna lie to you, I was not good at math.
Oh, yeah.
But that doesn't make it true for everybody.
No, you see, that's the thing.
Well, that was the thought.
And when I say these things, I'm not talking about everybody. I think Miss
no,
Nevins
no.
and Miss Bramley, both of you are exceptional individuals to take on the science subject back in a day 40 years ago. That's the point I'm making. That's the point. That's why I didn't say it as a way of putting it down. I'm just saying you.
I know. I'm just.
No problem. Understand. I just want to make sure I understand because I think both of you are exceptional for take on maths, for take on the STEM, the fancy word that I use these days, the maths and the science, and they do it well, pretty well. So yeah. So, Miss Nevins, what impression you got at the Meadowbrook campus the first day you came on the campus in terms of just the campus itself? Forget about the people them now. Just the surrounding where the campus was.
Well, for me, it's I don't know what to say now. What should I say here now? What impression I got was that.
Can I help you out a little bit?
Yes, please.
All right, because I am a fan of St. Hilda's. I've never been there, but I have friends who went there and they tell me about the school. And I get the impression that it would be a kind of similar situation. Like how Meadowbrook was situated in the mountains, well, near the mountains, and you had that kind of view. Did you have that kind of thing at St. Hilda's?
Well, St. Hilda's was, although in the town, it was it was in the town, it was perched on the hill, right. But in the town. Meadowbrook, however, was more in a community setting. Right. Yes, where St. Hilda's would have been in like a business area, but a little away. Meadowbrook, however, was really just like houses and so family setting around that area. Mm-hmm. You know, it was away from the town.
Mm-hmm.
Was it very different from St. Hilda's? The campus, that is.
Yes. Very different from St. Hilda's, of course, because we have male there. And St. Hilda's had some very strict rules. Meadowbrook did, but it was a little different from St. Hilda's.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Bob.
How different?
Sorry, go ahead.
How different you say?
No, Mrs. Bramley had a question to ask. That's
okay.
Mm-hmm. No, I have a question. Because something just came up a while ago. But while your man was talking, and you say, what was the experience like when, for the first time, maybe, because I say you went to an all-girls school, you went to an all-girls teachers college, and you walk into Meadowbrook now, and it was co-ed right through in terms of, like, the staff room and the campus itself was co-ed. What was that like to you as an experience, as a young person coming into...
As a young teacher, we did internship, and I did it at a co-ed school. So that sort of prepared you.
So Meadowbrook was your first internship then?
No, we did teaching practice.
Okay.
We went on teaching practice. I did my teaching practice at Donald Quarry. Mm-hmm. So Donald Quarry was co-head. Mm-hmm. And so Meadowbrook was. Mm-hmm. What was a little different would be the bigger boys. I know. I remember one young man really told me that I was just about his age, he said. I think I can't remember. Yes, he tried to trap me up a bit and said that, well, it's just because he went to sixth form and I went to college. That's
Yeah.
what makes the difference, which is true.
Yeah, well, Mrs. Bramley spoke about that in her conversation. She had a similar experience where a particular male student came up, and yeah, that's why I'm asking the question if that was a problem. But yeah, 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 yeah. That's something. How did you deal with that? That happened quite often, or did it just once time it happened?
You have to keep it professional, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. By the way, did your brother? There was a guy at school named Dean Nevins. Was he your brother or your cousin?
No, he was my cousin,
Okay, I remember him. Right, right,
and
right.
I taught him as well.
Okay, yeah, 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 yeah. So, did they give you a classroom, Miss Nevin, the first time you started? Did you get a classroom for yourself, or just you weren't assigned to a classroom?
No, I wasn't a form teacher because on internship you would just go to the different classes that you were assigned.
Oh, the
So
first
you
year
got your
you went.
timetable
Yeah, okay,
because I was on internship. I think the next year now you became a form teacher.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And was it any difference being a form teacher as opposed to just moving from class to class?
Yeah, because you're responsible for your form, you know, to groom your form to set the stage for your students,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, so that is additional responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
you know, than going to the classes that you were assigned.
So, Miss Nevins, that was 1978. You became a form teacher.
Yes.
So that was our year. You were my first form teacher.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. But that takes some amount of confidence to be taking on such responsibility at such. And I can't stop talking about the age both of you were, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm just out of sixth form and I teach back the same student them. Well, not the same age, but
The same age
yeah,
group.
was how the confidence must have been both for you and Mrs. Bram. The confidence one have to take this on. Is how we're gonna develop that confidence from saying the thing gonna can do this.
At Teachers College, you were trained, you know, you were given some amount of training. And so, you know, you go out there, you go out with a lot of ideas and all of that, things that you want to see happen. So you just work at it.
Mm-hmm.
And having a good support system, because really, Meadowbrook for me was a very good support system. Sometimes you don't even realize until after you leave and you start to reflect that you realize that you were cushioned a lot by the senior persons who were there.
Yeah, talk
I
about.
don't know if Helen found it that way, but that's how I found it. And I think Miss McLennan did like me, you know, somehow.
You're in Sanders as
And
well?
How are you in? Yeah.
I was in Saunders,
Okay,
yes.
all
I
right.
was in
That explains
Saunders, yes.
everything. Yes, yes, yes. That explains more side, yes.
I was in Saunders' house.
Yes.
So was I.
Miss McLennan choose our winners them all the while, man. She pick the teachers them out.
All the time.
Yes, 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 yes. Mrs. Bram, it sounds like you had a question.
No, I was just gonna say that for me, because I didn't go to teachers college, I was sort of thrown into the deep. I mean, I just had to fend for myself in terms. And the first year I went, I was a form teacher, so I just found it a little bit. It was challenging but enjoyable. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
basically, right? So, and you know, and you learn as you go along. You get more
As
as
they
you get
go
more
along.
experience. Yeah. Margaret, how was your experience with Miss Nevins as your form teacher? What form were you in, and how did you relate to her and so on? How, that sort of
Okay,
thing.
so I was in 1A, and she was nice, just a really nice person, full of energy, always smiling, very kind. And this morning I decided to ask two of my classmates if what was their memory of her. And they used the exact words except for one young lady who said she was kind of flirty, but very nice.
It was
She
a
was
kind of what?
a form teacher. She said she was kind of flirty, but really nice.
Okay.
But I'm very surprised that you were that young, because although we were like ages like 10 to 12, you were able to control everybody. There was order. You know what I mean? No major disruptions, no nothing. And there was respect flowing both ways. So you did an awesome job first time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, I must endorse that, because that's the age group I taught to, Margaret. But then again, it's 30 odd years later, and it's up to the environment here in North America. It's a different challenge altogether. And I couldn't, unlike Miss Barber or Mrs. Bramley, I never got to a teacher's college. I just got straight into the classroom, and that was a baptism of fire. I didn't survive. I did not survive. So clearly, you ladies have more
Where were
backbone
you
than
teaching, Jelly?
me. Eh?
Where were you teaching?
I teaching at what them call elementary school here. I taught 6th grade, I think, if I remember, sir. Years ago, about 15, 20 years, 2004.
Which school?
Rosemont Elementary, somewhere in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
It was a tough inner city school. That was another challenge with it, and but I wasn't quite ready for it. That's the thing. It wasn't my calling, as I say, and but it wasn't Meadowbrook. I'll put it away there. It was not Meadowbrook at all, because Meadowbrook had a different. And let me ask Miss Nevins that, in terms of, say, were you surprised, or what the type of students that you saw at Meadowbrook, the quality of students? How would you address that? How would you talk about that a bit, in terms of, say, in terms of the aptitude and just how they behave? Did that surprise you?
Well, remember, that would have been my first teaching experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know I had some brilliant students. I remember this girl, Valerie Husey.
Mm-hmm.
When I am marking my books, I know I mark Valerie's first because Valerie always seemed to be a bit ahead of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so you use her as a kind of a check. You mark her work, and then if there is anything wrong, you double check yours. That kind of way.
Yes,
Because
she made it easy for
she
you, Miss
was
Nevins. You just mark fair work first, and I say yes. Yeah.
no, you have your thing worked out,
Yeah.
but you still mark hers.
Yeah.
And if there was anything, you always try to double check, because she was I remember her as a very brilliant girl.
Yeah. I know what you're talking. Our sister was in my class, our older sister, and then was in my class when I started Meadowbrook, Joan. Yeah. And our older sister died recently, Judith. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. They used to live down by Bottomfield, I think. I don't know if Margaret, I think she left and went to Immaculate after a while. Valerie, I think so.
Maybe for sixth form or so.
I'm not so certain though. I mean, I could be wrong with that, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. So yeah, but that made it easy for you. Then you had some bright students who could have make sure help you.
Yeah, man, I had bright students. They were bright students.
Mm-hmm.
They were really bright students. I remember this girl also, Saffron Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
She always bringing things for me, sweets.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning, Saffron would bring something for me. And when I saw that she passed away, I said, anywhere this funeral is, I'm going to be going. I was a bit disappointed because when I looked, it was close to funeral time and it was overseas. So I didn't get my chance to pay my last respect.
And full disclosure, Miss Nevin, Saffron is actually was my sister-in-law,
Okay.
Her sister is married to my older brother, Patrick. So yeah, full disclosure. So I knew Saffron pretty well as well. Very nice.
Yeah, very nice girl.
Nice. I knew her from from the start of Meadowbrook and you are. From the start of Meadowbrook.
Oh,
Even
okay.
before she started Meadowbrook. She always come on her. She and her sister, her sister and I started Meadowbrook together in 1974.
Oh,
So I knew
that's
her
Camille.
from she was going prep school.
Oh,
And she
okay.
always goes, so I know exactly what you're talking about. You couldn't find a sweeter person. Margaret
Yes, man.
BFF, I should I say.
You're absolute. Yeah, man, you're right. Because I always said that she was my first friend at Meadowbrook. She was just an awesome person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was.
Sweet as a
Miss
person.
Nevins, I have a question for you.
Yes,
Do
my
you
darling.
remember any of the troublemakers from your 1A1 class?
I don't. What should I say now? I don't.
If you
This
don't,
girl.
it's okay. I'm just wondering if you remember any of them.
Well, the thing is to put them in the class is
Oh, in
kind
the
of
actual class.
yes, the actual class
Okay.
is kind of difficult for me.
Okay, so we had Rowan Magnus, Michael Lynch, Christopher Schwab, Alfred Morgan. You hear how I call them out? Because of them are the
Here.
troublemaker, you know.
Oh,
Oh God, them going to kill me because they're all still around.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah. We had fun though. We had a lot of fun.
Yes, we had a lot of fun. I remember taking my farm on a trip to the zoo.
That's for the
And
record. Tell them what the zoo is, miss. The zoo still exists?
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Hope so.
I know.
yes, the Hope Zoo.
Yeah.
And while we were there, I told the students, we have to keep together, you know. And I tell you something, there was this boy that was lingering around the place and dancing to the music that we had. And when the students started drifting, the boy just come and grab up the set that we were
You know,
using.
so somebody
Put
came and
on
talk
there.
about that incident, Miss Nevin. Somebody has spoken
Yeah,
about that. Yeah.
That was actually me, you know.
Are you? Yes.
Yes, and
yeah.
I'm glad Miss Nevins remember it because guess what? Not many
It was your
people
set?
remember. Yeah, it was a tape deck that my father
Yes.
just bought my mother. And she tell me, no, me can't borrow it. And you know when you're the first daughter and your daddy's girl. So
I
I just
understand.
nice my father and said, Daddy, please, Miss Nevins, and she could take care of it, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, Daddy bring it come, lend me. And that's what happened. We lost it. So the evening when Daddy picked me up, me just act like me don't know what happened. I forgot to talk to mommy.
But hold
Yes,
on.
I think I had to. We had to go home with this, you know, to explain these things. And we had
Yeah.
to go to the police. It was devastating.
I'm glad. I was wondering if you would remember because that must have been traumatic for you.
Yes, it
It
was.
was traumatic for me at the time, but not as bad as I think it would have been for you as the teacher.
Teacher
Yeah,
responsible.
because the guy actually put a knife on my wrist, you know, because I tried to
Exactly.
hold on to the thing.
Exactly. I remember it very well.
Yeah.
And I remember some of them had drifted off for real. You're so right.
Yes.
Yeah, that must have been
I
frightening.
don't remember the police part though. It's only now that you're saying it that I remember.
Yeah, man, we went to the police in the
In the
zoo.
Hope Zoo. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the Hope
Police was
Zoo.
there at the time.
There's a
Yeah,
police
them all in their
station.
security.
There is a station or whatever.
Post.
They
I
have a
never
little
know that. I never know.
post, yeah. Mhm.
And Margaret, you just make that slide now. You need to explain to the people what's a tape deck, you know. You're going like
Listen, if the young people them listening to this don't know what a tape deck is, they, as my sister would say, try Google.
Try Google.
Yes. My sister was very rude.
I want to know
Them
what
said
kind of
for
tape. Yeah, go
And
ahead.
it was a nice one, you know, a big one with good sound. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The
I want the original boombox then.
W1 did just come in and a jelly just
Yeah,
come in.
man, it was a big one with lovely sound, and we were dancing and enjoying ourselves for the day. And it was almost at the end, you know. It was almost at
Exactly.
the end.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. I wanted a big boom box and Margaret.
Yeah, man, it was nice.
Yeah. So any other fun memories, Miss Nevins, that you want to talk about on sports day or at the school? Any other fun memories you remember? I have a question to ask, but I want you to remember any fun memories before.
And they went school run, I think so.
Yes, that is
Yes,
true.
man, they
About
win the
sports day.
staff races. Yes. Yes, I would run on sports day. Oh, we have good fun. What I remember, how Miss McLennan would dress in our color, but just put the other colors there. Put the other houses there. So to
To show him
kind of
partially.
show that she's supporting, but our heart is with us.
All Sanders, Miss McLennan. She couldn't hide it at all. All Sanders.
Yeah, man, that is it.
Yeah.
Miss McLennan, actually, Miss McLennan used to invite me to her office to listen to her speech, them.
What do you mean? What
I
kind of
was
speech? The speech you're going to
I was privileged. Say, for example, if she had a presentation to make,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to, you prepare and practice.
Mm-hmm.
So she would have me there listening and ask me for any correction. I don't know who could have correct her, but I listened. I listened keenly, and I learned a lot from those experiences.
So she would call you in the office.
Call me in her office and put me down and have me listen to whatever it is that she's going to present. And then she would say to me that if anything that is out of turn or out of place, or off a bit, you should correct her. But of course, poor me, I could never correct her.
Mm-hmm.
I listened.
That was big respect,
Yes. And that's why I know that she really liked me a lot. I got away with a few things there.
That's why. Let me ask you that. As I mentioned that when you came for your internship for 1 year, did you have an intention of staying for so long?
No, I never actually. You don't really plan it out, but normally where you do your internship, you'd probably look a job afterwards.
Yeah.
But there was a vacancy, and so I was offered the job, so I took the job.
That time Mr. Thorpe was still there.
Mr. Thorpe was there.
And what was the difference like between Mr. Thorpe and Miss McLennan, since they had both of them? What type of personality do you think both of them were?
Mr. Thorpe was a bit more on the rigid side. I would think you never really feel so comfortable going to Mr. Thorpe's office. That's my experience.
And you felt like one of us students when you went to Mr. Thorpe?
You want to go to the office, to Mr. Thorpe's office. That was out of bounds. If you're summoned to the office, you feel that something is really wrong, that kind of way. Miss McLennan was a bit more approachable, and I think you could go and speak to her, although she tried to give that kind of image that she was, as she said, her name is Spanner because I tighten up things around here. But
said that to you, Miss Nevins?
Yes. You know why they call me Spanner? Because I tighten up things around here.
That is awesome. I've never heard that.
No, neither Margaret. That is true. That's that gem, Miss Nevins. I've never heard that explanation at all.
I love that.
And of course, in all our Spanner attitude with our chest up,
Yeah,
and
man. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No, that one, this conversation
No, that
work,
is
that
awesome,
alone, that
awesome,
information, I
awesome,
didn't know that at all. First of all, I didn't even know that she know we call her Spanner. And if you embrace it that way, I say, yeah, man, they call me Spanner because I'm tying up things around you.
That is the best. This is my favorite part of the movie so far.
Yes. Mrs. Bramley, you knew of that? That's what.
No, sir. You never know. First, I hearing that one too.
Oh, right. That's a beautiful them conversation. Like I know I can hear something. I say, right, this is a gem. I've never.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
that.
man. Those are things I don't forget that part, because sometimes when I'm just here reminiscing and so, those are some of the things that I do remember,
Yeah,
you know.
she sound like she really liked Miss Nevins. I can see that, but she opened up with that and tell you that it's like she really took you on, maybe as her
Yeah,
Yes.
man.
daughter or something like that. Yes.
Oh, yes. When I went on study leave and I had a daughter, I had a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
That's another episode.
That is behind the
And
paywall. You don't have to talk about that one unless you don't want. You don't have to talk about that, Miss Nevins. But understand.
hey, but
Yeah.
anyway, when I came back, she said, I sent you to get a degree. You come back with a baby. You come back with a baby.
Wow.
I could put you across my lap and give you a spanking.
That's what she said to you?
Yeah, man. We had a good relationship.
Yeah, she was very close to you then. I didn't realize that. She was
Yes,
very close
yes,
to you.
yes.
For
She
talking to you
was.
that way. She took you on as her daughter. Yes.
Yeah, man. So I think she was very disappointed with the baby, and that's how it goes.
Yeah. We understand. We understand that, Miss Nevin. So you mentioned that you were in the cadet. And talk about that because Never Foster, who came out this week, spoke about the first female cadet corps in Jamaica was at Meadowbrook. And it sounded like you were a part of that setting up in terms that you remember how that go?
I think it was Mr. Gooden. When the girls showed an interest in the cadet, it was Mr. Gooden because I was in his department. And Mr. Gooden.
As a maths teacher, Mr. Gooden was in charge of the
Right,
department. Okay, yeah.
right. And so Mr. Gooden asked if I wouldn't join the cadet, which I did, and went on some rigorous training and was there. We had camp at school and camp. I remember going to a camp in Runaway Bay with Mr. Myers, Paul Myers. It was. He might have been a part of the cadet. I don't know how Paul was there. I mean, I remember seeing him in any cadet uniform, but he was always with the cadet and helping with the training.
I did not remember that you were in the cadet, but the minute you said it, I can see you in your uniform marching with them.
I
Yes.
was sending a picture of her. She sent to me, Margaret. I was sending the picture.
Okay.
I'm going to use that picture for a promo when the time come up for use it. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
It's when she sent me the picture, I realized, yes, I remember her in the cadet for true. I remember that. So talk about that, Ms. Nevins, in terms of, who were some of the girls who were involved in that historical occasion where Jamaica's first cadet corps?
I mean, now I'm going to remember all of them. I think this girl, Carol Francis.
Yes.
And she went to work for JBC after a while, or TVG. And
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, she was a reporter, yeah.
I think she's at, what you call the one, the PB's, what name?
TVJ?
No, not TVJ. She's with is it PBC, what name? Anyway, we can't.
She's still on the air. That's what she's saying, Mrs. Bromley. She's still on the air.
I think she works for the station that do government broadcast. I can't remember if it's that one or one of those stations there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I remember Carol. I can't. It's a long time now.
You remember Judith?
Judy Gold?
Yes.
I remember her. I don't remember if she was a cadet, but I remember Judith quite all right.
Yeah, man, she was a member of the cadet corps, I think, too.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I remember Judith.
So what was it like for the girls, and for you in charge of these girls? How you felt being a part of this historic thing?
Well, I didn't. What happened is like we used to do the training, and we used to have the camps, And it was good when we were on out there in the field, and you'll have to be inspecting and all of that. It was a good feeling because I went for training with some other people and went through the whole rigors of the training. So it is something that is good for discipline, you know. So it helps with the discipline of the girls and other students, because although we were female, we had to work with the males as well.
Well, hold on, Miss Neville. Let me ask you a obvious question with that. Did you get any pushback from the male? And I say, how would them a woman here come doing a man thing? You never get them question there.
Those things never really happened. You mean at school?
Yeah, man. No, me I ask
No.
that. No, I want you to tell me. No, right. That Meadowbrook
No,
about.
I know, but I'm just saying we never had that problem.
And that
We never had that.
No, I want to say.
We never had that problem
I want
at
to say
that
it, Miss
time.
Nevin, because that was the power of Meadowbrook, and that was the nature of Meadowbrook. I didn't think you had a problem, you know, but I wanted you to say it. That's why I asked the question that way, because...
No, we never had a problem. I think they welcomed the ladies and worked with them, and they had to train just as hard as a male.
Yeah, that's the impression I got when I spoke to Neville the last time. That's exactly what I got. It wasn't an issue at all. It was like a welcoming thing for some boy. The girls are part of it because part of the school, and it was a groundbreaking thing. So let's involve the girls. Them. Yes. Yeah.
At the time, did you realize that it was a big deal in terms of the first female, what do you call it, cadet corps?
Yeah.
Never. It's just like it's something that is a part of the institution, and as a member of the institution, that is where you could also extend your service. And so we never saw it as no big thing at the time.
You mean you never see yourself as Rosa Parks?
No, sir.
Right, Miss Bromley? I don't know what I'm talking. It's a big thing, you know, but...
I will never see it in that way. No, I want to tell you something. It's when we leave Meadowbrook and go out in the wider world. I have some other experiences that I realize how great Meadowbrook was, you know.
Oh, really? Talk about that. What do you mean by that?
I'm telling you, as staff members, I can't even recall if there was much discord in the staff room.
Yes.
Those things were not like how I see it happen when I left Meadowbrook, and see how some people treat other people. Because when I left Meadowbrook, I was called a junior teacher. I've never heard that term before.
You mean when you went to another school?
I went to another school. They saw you as a
We're
junior
not going to embarrass them, but go ahead, yeah.
You know, they call you a junior teacher and all of that. And they never had... I had to take a lot of things that I learned at Meadowbrook to move that school forward. I'm telling you, there was so much that we learned there that you would have taken for granted that you could share with others. Because when I was at Meadowbrook, for example, even working with Mrs. Griffiths, I learned a lot from Mrs. Griffiths when she came on, Helen.
Yeah.
And we used to sit there, we used to work papers together because we had children, you know. My son started at Meadowbrook too, you know.
Oh, yes, I didn't know that, yeah?
Yes. Started at Meadowbrook. And so Mrs. Griffiths and I, we would collect papers from Spanish, English, whatever for our children. And we would stay back in the evenings and go through things, and persons would help you along those lines so that we could help our children to do better. You know, that was the kind of relationship that we had there. And so when you go to another school, I remember when I go to this particular school and was given a problem, to a student, and I tried working the problem. I said, some information is missing here. And I went to the head of department, and she said, well, if you can't do it, my dear, then it can't work. I felt so inadequate because then I said, this is not the place for me because there is no support. There is no support. At Meadowbrook, you had support. You had persons you could go to and that kind of thing. So it was great.
So hold on, let me ask you both of the question though. And Mrs. Bramley can answer after you answer Miss Nevins. What do you think contributed to that, Because you are not the first person who came and spoke about that, Never, Mr. Beckford and Jerry Belnavis, who have been on this conversation before. Mrs. Nelson spoke about and Mr. Dean, I cannot leave him out, spoke about the environment in the staff room at Meadowbrook was special. And you saying that without me even asking the question, they say when you leave you realize Meadowbrook was special and great. What do you think contributed to that staff room being so vibrant and so good?
Well, as I said before, working together, learning from each other. I don't think anybody saw themselves above. So it's like everybody working towards the same goal, trying to achieve the same things. So it's working together. That spirit of working together that made it great. Say, for example, we work as a team. That's the word. I remember Helen, you remember we used to play badminton after school? Remember?
I wasn't in that group. I think Jerry did and Parks did
and Lennox.
Yeah, but I remember some of us going to, when we got paid, we always broke as teachers. When we get paid, we'd plan up a little, go out somewhere to eat or whatever. That's what some of us used to do in a month. Stuff like that we used to do. And I really don't recall anybody, as you say, saying, well, I'm a senior teacher or I know more than you. They were willing to help, and that is really true, It was a pleasant
atmosphere. Yeah. I remember one time we went out, cars were not plentiful, so it's not many of us would have had cars because I remember Lennox with the bug.
Yeah.
And we went out. I remember one night we went out, and when we came out of the place, somebody hit the vehicle. Oh my God, I never said a word. It was like all of us felt the pain, because it is our little ride. And he would come and he would take us, and we enjoy ourselves and do what we have to do and go back home. It was like that. And even the badminton thing that I spoke about, in the afternoon, after school, you go home and come back, to school to play the badminton in the evening. It was good. So those things help to build good relationships.
Right.
Yes.
But before you answer Mrs. Bramley, because I sound like as teachers love Meadowbrook as much as the students love it, because the same way we talk about it, say we never want to leave. We never want to leave the campus at all at evening time. We didn't want to leave. What do you think contributed to that, though, Mrs. Bramley, in terms of, say, how the staff room developed into such a powerful staff room or a great environment for teaching?
I don't know. I think part of it too is that we didn't have we had an upstairs and a downstairs, but I think the desks were pretty close to each other. And for some reason, I guess there was a mixture of different age groups as well, I guess. But we all kind of sat in proximity to each other. And not to talk about it, Nevins, it's really true that we didn't really have much discord in the staff room, because I've been to not a teaching job, but other business places where it does have some people that chatty business or them just lie and all them something. I just didn't find that at Meadowbrook at all. So I don't know what contributed to it, or maybe we just happen to have the right
That's the
caliber of,
culture of the place. Yeah.
perhaps. Yeah.
Right group of people. Maybe Miss McLean and Mr. Tar pick the right group of recruited the right set of people for come in that environment. So yeah, maybe it was. Just hear you talk. Both of you talking about it. I'm saying okay. No, I say why. Cause that express itself in the classroom and throughout the school. The student them felt, the teacher them felt coming at Meadowbrook. Just like how the student felt good coming to Meadowbrook. There's a similar feeling. I didn't realize that, but just listen to not understand. No understand what you're saying. So Miss Nevins, you go ahead. So like you
Yes.
have something to say. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I remember also that when you go buy a cocoa bread and patty and your juice,
From
if you
Pekka,
were ever
I didn't.
well, we buy Pekka sandwich, Pekka,
Kalalo
Caliber.
Kalalu thing as well. But when you bought that, I remember Miss Barrett. She's now the principal at Shortwood. I remember when she came in with her stuff, and like Myers and Burke would have just grab it away and say, "Well, you have to go buy another one, you know." You understand? That was a part of the orientation.
fun,
You
yes.
understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a part of the orientation. So you can't vex,
Yeah.
you know?
Somebody will take away your food.
Take away your food and say you have to go buy another one because they want to see how you kind of respond to it as well.
Right.
And then
There you go.
take it and make joke, you know?
Yeah.
So it
But
was
Jelly,
more.
Yeah, go ahead,
listening to Miss
Margaret.
Nevins now, right? It sounds to me like they had the same exact experience that we were having.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Margaret. Yeah, go
And
ahead.
I think it's mainly because of their youth
Yes.
when they came in. But what was nice is that all the teachers just fit in and never make a big deal of anything.
Right. They never try to shut it down at all or telling us about
Right.
you can't behave that way there. It's like them just allow it. Not just facilitated it then. It was no big deal at all.
They probably felt good because it made them feel young too.
Yes, definitely. That may be part of it, yeah.
And if you really think about it, we had quite a number of young persons there. In my time, there were a lot of young people, you know.
Yeah, it was a great environment, Miss Nevin. It was a great time to be at Meadowbrook. I mean, now I'm thinking back on it, and I didn't realize we had that much fun in the staff room like we had as students, which is a Margaret
Anytime
said.
I see the uniform, it moves something in me. Always looking out for it.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
So let me ask you a question though. What's the most embarrassing moment you remember at Meadowbrook that you can look back on with a smile?
Well, I remember we had exchange of gifts in the form. And I remember a student. That's why I don't do that anymore. I remember a student that kind of like it coming on to Christmas here now.
Yes.
Right. And they have an exchange of gifts. And I remember a student who was not able, I believe, to purchase a gift.
Couldn't afford to.
He brought a pair of used socks. And I tell you, that thing was so embarrassing. And then, you have the person who was supposed to get that gift had brought in lovely gift. Although you set limits to what you should bring, you have some students who could afford more, and so they would go out and get something really nice. And it was a bit embarrassing. And so as a teacher, you had to, do some damage control there. So you had to go get a gift. A gift. There were other.
How you tell that? You had to go get a gift for
Yes, I had to get a gift. Yes, for the child. Yes, because the child had already given her gift. Because it not necessarily mean that the person who was giving you is the person that. Right.
Yes.
So that was a bit embarrassing as well.
No, I can't say it. I don't like them gift changing thing that I got
No, from that, me never do it again.
that experience. I experienced as a student where it's like you get a gift and it's like, well, you get back. I said, but this doesn't look like a fair exchange at all. I mean,
No.
I know that way. I know that way. But let me ask you something, Miss Nevin. Mrs. Bramley and Jerry and Neville talk about what is it, Miss Bramley? The book?
Book, yeah, the book. You remember the book, Nevins? The book
Which
that we
book?
used to write down. The book, we had a book, like a little notebook. Not a little notebook, like an exercise sized notebook. I think it was a notebook where we used to write down questions that he gave students and some of the answers that they gave in tests or for homework or classwork,
Oh,
which were extremely funny or
it
like
was for fun. Yeah.
fun, right?
Yes, I remember that book. Yes.
So you
We
remember
don't know
any classic from the book, Miss Nevin, that you want to tell us about? Anything you read, and is that there's any classic statement that was written in the book?
Can't recall now. I can't recall now, but I remember the book Helen spoke about. It's like you come up
book, right?
you come up with you in marking your work.
That's
You
right.
know, right? You would have to. You see, what happened is that for mathematics, it was not.
You have to know the maths answer
Yeah,
them to make it.
Yeah.
would
It wasn't. It wouldn't be so entertaining.
less likely to be getting a maths because it's hard. Yes, it's not the words, it's
Mm.
are the numbers you look on, right? No, I thought about that to Miss Nevins. In maths, you don't have so much of those classic statements to look on in them, or any at all,
Right.
or any at all.
You would have some work out, but you wonder how the child would. Your thing is now to figure out what is the thinking behind this working, this method. But that's how it is.
So yes, you mentioned somebody, and I asked about him person. What was your relationship like with Mr. Gooden? Because Mr. Gooden was a very eccentric person in terms that say he would have said what come my mouth and him didn't care most of the time. What type of relationship you had with Mr. Gooden?
Mr. Gooden and I had a fairly good relationship. One of the things I remember clearly, though, is that Mr. Gooden would say, sometimes you don't have to mark these work that the children give you. You know what they're getting already.
So I tell you, I know Mr. Gooden exactly right.
Yes, he say, a student can only get an A, and I be say, even mark, this child is going to get an A.
Like
you understand? You know that.
That sounds like exactly Mr. Gooden. Him know exactly what the student I get before.
No wonder he was so mad at me in one physics class because I proved him wrong.
You prove him wrong, Margaret.
Yes, man, because I hated physics.
Yeah.
And
you're lucky in the work.
No, man, it was an exam. So here what happened.
Oh, okay.
I used to get 35% enough time. I'm not even ashamed to say because I hated physics. And we did a midterm exam and I got 95.
Wow.
And he was not amused. This was my only interaction with Mr. Gooden. He was not amused.
What I mean? You frighten him. I mean him not amused.
No, man, him did vex time say lazy. Why may I get them low grade there?
Low grades.
I got you. Must say I waste the potential.
Right. Ready for call my parents and everything. But that was just so weird. He was so mad.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he introduced me to the credit union, the AAMM, whatever credit union, A squared, M squared, whatever we call it, credit union. He was I don't know if he was on the board for that credit union, but he did some recruiting for that credit union. Yes, right. But differently from that, we had a
Yeah.
working relationship. Yes.
Yeah, he was a good math teacher. He taught me. He had a concept. It's like he had a different way of teaching, but I did get it. Because if you weren't a certain level, it's not an easy person for follow. Cause that's the sort of person he was. It's like if you're not up to par, to put it a better way, him not gonna try to drag you up at all. But if
You
you're up,
either have it or you don't have it.
yes, that's how him look upon it.
Yes, yes.
And him going to make you know. Him going to make you know in one certain term.
Hey man, you either have it or you don't have it for me for good.
Him going to make you know that, man. Let me ask you a question, though, Miss Nevins. Because, like, what song you remember at Meadowbrook? During the time at Meadowbrook that you remember? That is, you hear these days and you say, boy, yeah, man, that remind you of Meadowbrook. Which song or songs?
Mm.
Can jog your memory.
All right.
Yes, you better do.
You can't know, say Mrs. Bromley at the party and him alone, Margaret. Do you hear her?
Yeah, definitely.
It's not because of
Definitely.
Miss Bromley got every fit and everything. But tell us about it, Mrs. Bromley, yes.
no man, Islands in the Stream. Remember that one?
That
Islands
Yes,
in the
with Kenny
Stream.
Rogers.
that is what you
Yeah,
are.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No more in between.
Kenny Rogers
Um,
and Dolly Parton. Yes, yes, I remember
and,
that. Yeah.
Ring My Bell. You can
Yes.
ring my bell. That one, that was on when I was teaching at Meadowbrook.
Yeah, that
That you ring the
I
bell.
remember that one, and that one had to stop play because it was a political song after a while. They couldn't ring bell.
You ring.
Oh God.
Margaret, you remember that? So you couldn't go around and ring the bell after a while.
Yes. Of
Only
course, I remember.
all about Michael Jackson songs, Beat It and Thrillers, all the things were around at the time, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know which other one. I don't know which one would I can't remember.
Reasons. I always remember reasons.
With Earth, Wind,
Okay,
and Fire, yeah.
yeah, Earth, Wind and
That's
Fire.
the one I was trying to remember.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, that
That
was
was my favorite.
I tell you.
Mm-hmm. But let me ask you a question, Miss Nevin. You came there for 1 year, as I said originally. Were you surprised you spent 11 years at Meadowbrook?
No, I'm not surprised. Actually, I think I would have stayed longer had it not been for one or two things that pulled me away, you know. But 1988 was not a good 1988 was not a good year for many reasons for me.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather died that year, and I just said, "Oh, feel like I could go home." And before I say it, I had this lady who was an insurance agent of mine who got me a job and got my son into school.
And when you say
And
home, you
before I
mean
knew it,
back to St. Anne's, Miss Nevins.
back to St. Anne. Yeah,
Yeah.
back to St. Anne.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how it went, 1988.
Oh, and it wasn't Gilbert that ran you away.
No, man, it was after Gilbert.
It was after Gilbert. Okay.
After Gilbert.
Yeah. So it's not
So I
like
actually,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
actually left in December.
Okay, so it's not
So I
like you
started.
wanted to leave at all. It's just the circumstances just
So
say.
it just, I don't know. It just happened. It was a sad year. That year wasn't a good year for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was other things pulling. So you just pack up and go.
Understood. So let me ask you another question. You spent 10 years, more than 10 years at Meadowbrook. What's the best learning experience you got from going to Meadowbrook, from teaching at Meadowbrook? Your best learning experience, what you learned the most from teaching there?
Professionalism. Professionalism is one of the things that kind of stand out that I have learned at Meadowbrook. As you said, teamwork, professionalism, and really catering to the needs of the students also, preparation. So nothing beats preparation so that you can deliver to the students. That's something I learned. I remember a student when they had those screen tests.
Yeah,
I learned that never you judge a student by the performance of a screen test.
a screen test, Miss Nevins, explain to the people who first time I hear that word, what screen test mean.
Well, the school would set a standard to say if a student did not reach that standard, then they are not allowed to enter for the external exam.
That's the O level or the CXC, yes, yeah.
The O level or the CXC.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had a cutoff mark. And I remember a student getting 12% in math. And that student came and said that he knows that he can pass the math. And I said 12%, because when you mark the screen test, you tend to go a bit easy with the marking.
Mm-hmm.
So if a child gets 12%, saying really never do much. And so I said to him, well, young man, if I allow you to go for the exam, I would have to allow everybody who gets 12 or above, in all fairness.
Yeah.
And he says, they don't have to know. They don't have to know. But he knows that he can. And let me tell you something. I allowed that child to do the exam. And there was another child who got good grade, who never made it in the exam. And that boy actually passed the exam. So I learned also that once you make up your mind and you are motivated, you can achieve. You can achieve. So never you write off somebody using no test score.
The screen tests are not like that at all, right?
No screen tests. You understand? Because it doesn't always work. It doesn't give you the true picture. That I learned. So that stood out in my mind.
I know.
Remember
yeah, go ahead. Finish up, Miss Nevins. Sorry.
I remember the student. I remember everything. And I know, it's something that kind of stay with me throughout my career.
So, I'm big him up. A big thing that him doing, because I'm going to tell you why it's a big thing. Two things I'm saying, apart from the fact that him take the exam and pass it and surprise you, the fact that him would have come to you and tell you, say, him know him can pass. When would I get the confidence from and say, yeah, and for come to you? Because very few students would do that. You follow me? I say, I'm not sure. I'd have the audacity to say, I will come to you and say, yeah, man, I'll probably take my screen myself out and say, right, at 12, me get embarrassed. But him decides, say, him want to pass. That's an amazing story, Miss Nevins. For a student.
Yes, it is. Yes. His name is Robert Roach. I remember his name very well. I remember him very well.
Well, let me hear this when this conversation go, because I have to big him up,
Yes.
because he was brave enough to come there and tell us, say, just make me go take the test. And what
Yes, ma'am.
And what made you decide to say, make him give him a chance to do it? What made you change your mind?
Well, the truth is, at the time, Mr. McGregor was the one who had they used to allow some students to take the exam in grade 10.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the brighter ones would go in grade 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mr. McGregor always say, well, I am the teacher. So the students that I get for my exam, them never really so hot at the time. You understand, in comparison to the others, because he would have the top stream. And so you had you really have to make them. So you want to also make your name, you have to make the students. So you have to work extra hard with them. And so when they had a cutoff, then cutoff at 50, for me, cutoff was like 35. You understand me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the things that you always have to give people a chance. You have to give people a chance. And if they say they can, then you allow them to prove themselves.
Yeah.
You know, themselves.
That was very brave of you, Miss Nevins. I must say that for you decide say you're gonna make him take the exam, the external exam, when you figure say because him come to you.
Yeah, him come and say him can do it.
And sometimes that's all somebody wants in a second chance or another opportunity for to try again.
Chance. Yeah.
No. I like that. I like that story there.
There were also students too who would be on the football. Don't remember this one's name now, but I remember this young man who was on the football team. So, because you're on the football team, he did his subjects, never got enough, but came back. And so mathematics was one of them and geography was another. And so he wanted to do over the subject, and the geo teacher never really want to send him up. And I was saying, send the young man, give him a chance, give him a chance, because he's really coming back to do something for the school, and so him also need to benefit, And she gave him the opportunity after we talked. He never passed me maths, but he did pass the geography and got the top score in the geography that year as well.
Wow.
So you see, sometimes it's just giving people that opportunity.
No, these are some good storytelling, us, Miss Nevins. I never know what them story
Yeah, man.
These are some really nice.
Yeah, man, we have enough stories.
12%. That is a fantastic. Wow. Oh, mercy. Yeah.
So, Miss Barbara, you never have a student who challenge that way. We come to you, brave and tell you, say.
No, not really. And to be truthful, I don't remember what they did in their external exams. However, just recently, just last school year, this is not an academic subject. I teach a violin now, right? And I have a student who, it's because she wouldn't practice. And I never thought she could have ever passed the exam. It's an overseas exam, right? To play the violin at a certain level. And trust me, the girl freshman got married. So that was a shocker to me. Almost like Nevins. Not quite as dramatic, but seriously, I mean, I was shocked, So yeah. So when they do make up their mind, yeah, and put in the work, yeah, man, they can achieve great things. Truthfully, yeah.
So, Miss Nevins, this only match you taught at Meadowbrook. You didn't teach anything else.
No, only mathematics.
So let me ask you a question now. This goes to Mrs. Bramley, because as I said, she was the bravest biology teacher. You didn't, when she had the best biology class in Meadowbrook High, when she decided on her own to go teach a student them about STD, and had all the
reproductive system.
Birth control methods.
all of the birth control methods to show the student, both boys and girls. You didn't hold on to her and say, what you doing? You never know about that experiment?
No, but
No, not
no.
I don't remember.
Oh God.
No,
I
man.
remember that experiment.
No, it was the most overcrowded biology class in Meadowbrook High, man. Trust me on that. That's why you're anyway. I wasn't there. I don't know why I missed that class. Maybe I was away up there cricket or something like that. But yeah, I just check. I just checking to see if you were there. Hold on, Mrs. Brahman asked her.
What happened is that I brought in an IUD. I went to the family planning clinic. I made Mr. Gordon, the woodwork teacher, make a wooden penis. I got the condom and put it on it and stuff like that. So the thing is that And it's who it asked if I never thought about a banana, but that was I never even think about banana, right? So, anyway, so that is what happened in the class, and then all who dropped by are from all third form. All of a sudden, the lab full up with people that I don't see how much years for that one class, you know. But I just thought it necessary to do. It wasn't really on the syllabus. And as I was telling Prince, I didn't really ask anybody's permission. I never asked guidance council nothing. And as I said, maybe if I had them, would have tell me I can't do it.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, so
Yeah,
yeah.
then when I tell you no, of course, Mrs. Bramley, that I'm certain
Yeah.
about her. I said no, you can't do this and give all of the reason. But I think it was.
But I don't think I was the bravest one, you know, because Jerry told me, Bellamy said that when he was a student, Mrs. Leora, and he used to discuss all manner of stuff with the students. I don't think she brought physically things into the classroom for them, but she was quite frank in her discussions about you know, sex education.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what
yeah, yeah.
I understand. Yeah, yeah.
And for a co-ed school, that's very much needed. And
Definitely,
Exactly.
yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me ask you another question. Let me ask you this question though. What year did Miss McLennan leave? Were you there? Were you there at school when Miss McLennan left, Miss Nevins?
Oh man, I think where it go? Did I leave Miss McLennan there? I because Mrs. Morris,
Became principal, so after, I think, I'm not sure.
Mrs. Morris became principal after.
After you left?
No, I think a little before I left.
Dr. Marks was then. She was no Dr. Marks at the time, right? Something like that.
Yes, yeah, man. She became principal. I didn't work for long with her, but she became principal before I left there.
So Miss McLennan, her time had just come. It's like to do the amount of years that ministry required. That's why she left.
Would imagine, I would,
Okay. Okay.
I would
Because
imagine so.
she was at Meadowbrook for a long, long time. That is a given from in the
Yeah.
60s. Because she taught my sister. My sister started Meadowbrook in 1965 or 66. So yeah. Anyway, let me ask you another question. What life lessons you learned at Meadowbrook that you pass on to your friends and family?
Well, life lessons. Let me see, because we all searching around, but we all know. One thing I know is that it's not always good to have a relationship with somebody where you work at your workplace, because it not always work out too well. Put it that way. That is something that I have learned the hard way. So I would encourage persons as I go along. If at all you can avoid it, then you keep the work thing at work and the other things elsewhere.
You keep it separate. There is another graphic way for
Yeah,
put it.
try to keep it separate. That is,
Yeah.
yeah, that is something that I have learned the hard way. Put it that way.
Yeah. 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 That affect a whole heap of other things. So you really want to keep that separate. It's like,
Yes, it does.
yeah. I understand, Mr. Evans. And I'm glad you say it and you say it freely. So I'm glad you put it that way. That other people learn from that experience because it's not a smart thing to do at all.
Not a smart thing.
Not a smart thing to do at all. Yeah. All right. What message you that give to existing students or future students or any staff member who going to hear your conversation? You know, what message you going to give to them from Meadowbrook? And recently we saw that disturbing video, the papers, online with a Meadowbrook student. What message did I give to students who are going to Meadowbrook now, who are going to listen to this conversation 10 years from down the road? What do you want to say to them?
I think that There are so many distractions out there, especially now, but you need to try and remain focused. You have to focus on what it is that you really want to achieve. So for the students, that's what I would say. Try to remain focused, have a good relationship, share and work together, but remain focused. For the staff members now, I would say to them, you have to always stay ahead of the game, have to be ahead of the students. You also have to be open to any kind of discussions that student, anything that they will bring up, you need to learn to listen because people do have a lot of issues, and sometimes you're in a position that you can save somebody. So you have to have a listening ear. Basically, work with them to bring out the best because different persons will have different aptitude or potential. And so you want to bring out the best out of each person. So, you have to be keen on those things. We had blind students, I taught 2 blind students at Meadowbrook.
Yeah, and blind.
Oh, blind
Fit
Two
students.
blind
I remember one of
students.
them. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. One of them. Yeah, one of the guys.
Yeah, I remember the girl. There was a girl,
What
I
you had
remember.
to do is that you have to be so conscious that they were there. So instead of just writing on the board, you have to be talking what it is that you are writing so that they can visualize it.
So they were in the same
So,
class like the regular class, Miss Nevins?
yeah, they were in regular class,
So the braille
regular class,
machine. Yeah.
using their braille. Yeah, using their braille. So you have to do a lot of talking as you go along. You have to you say what it is that you are putting on the board, whatever it is, so that they can visualize it. And I
But
think those
but that
children
sound
did
like
well
that make you
too.
a better teacher though, Miss Nevins.
It does.
Yeah, that's what
It
I think too.
does.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when you are preparing, you have to prepare with them in mind.
Mhm. Mhm. I didn't realize that it was. I always saw them at school, but it's almost. I always I think say it's like a separate teaching assignment there for them. I didn't know they were part of the curriculum.
No, they were in the
Part of
same.
the normal class. And I tell you something, they knew you by your just your footsteps.
Oh,
It was
really?
amazing. Yes. It was amazing.
And you had experience with that to Mrs. Bramley in terms of teaching.
Yes, I remember there was a young man in my bar class. That's true. But I don't know if I really did justice at the time, in terms of, but he was there. I remember. I remember teaching circulation of the blood to him in that class. He was in the front bar lab at the time. I remember. Yeah.
So you find it extra challenging, Mrs. Bramley, to do that? Because you're telling me something I didn't even realize. I never thought about it before. Does I think about it now? Teaching
Challenging. I don't think I probably made enough effort or I handled it. I mean, he did learn, but I'm thinking that maybe what I could have done, what I could do now, I didn't do then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
because I understand better now, but at the time. But yes, they were in the regular classroom with the other students.
I didn't. So let me ask both of you something. Was it only the visual impaired, or you had hearing impaired? That was it
I
possible
think
to do it the same thing with hearing impaired students?
visually impaired. Visually we had, right, Nevins?
Visually. Yeah, it was visually impaired.
But you didn't hear hearing impaired
Ah,
at all, like with the students that couldn't hear.
No.
No,
That's a
Give
not
the
different.
that
list.
we are aware of.
No,
Put it
listen.
that way, not that we are aware of, because sometimes some things happen and you're not aware of it,
Right,
That's
right. That's
no.
what I'm asking. That's what I'm
Mm.
asking, Miss Nevins. That's exactly
No,
what I'm asking.
no, not I know of.
Cause these days, if sometimes at a press conference, like when them have any big press conference, you
Yeah,
see somebody stand up on the stage. I get sign
right.
language. Yeah,
Sign
yeah,
language. Yeah.
yeah. That never
Mm.
existed at the time at all. Yeah, yeah. No, no. I'm just curious. I didn't know that. Margaret, you knew that was the case. That visually impaired people were sitting in the same classroom and taking the same
Yes,
lesson.
because they were there while I was there.
Okay,
I think they were actually in my year, as a matter of fact.
both of them.
Yeah, but they didn't start in first form.
Yeah, they just came up.
No.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, no, no, I remember them, but I looking remember them from a distance. I just think, say, yeah, them come to school and maybe that's special. When I tell me something amazing, I didn't know that at all. I wasn't aware of that at all. I
I
wasn't.
didn't
And I
actually
would,
do any
I would
classes
tell
with
you,
them, but I knew that they were in classes in my year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, go
and
ahead,
they
Miss
would
Nevin.
come and tell about, they would come and tell you about how they watch, they would say how they watch the show, and they could tell you everything that happened in the movie. And they say they watch it, and then some
Yeah.
of the students would laugh and say, oh, what? But they are watching with whatever them call their
Mm.
eyes,
Them I
Yeah.
listen, them I listen, them watching with them ears. Them
Yes,
watching with them ears, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, they listen and they create the visual for
Yeah, yeah,
themselves.
yeah. Which sometimes
Right.
it's a better vision than your own eyes. That's I imagine the things them, yeah. No, that's an amazing. I wasn't aware of that at all before. I talked about this, Miss Evans. I wasn't aware of that at all. That you actually taught visually impaired students and teach them maths. And maths is not an easy thing to teach people.
You may not know how much I they learn still. But I tried. As Helen said, we never had the that kind of
Tools
expertise
are there, yeah.
to
Yeah. We didn't.
right to give them how they ought to get it. But we did our best, you know,
Yeah, because
given the situation.
those
But
Mm.
that's another thing that Meadowbrook seemed to be a trailblazer in, because I'm not aware of any other high school that did that.
that's what I'm
Not, I'm
saying.
not saying they didn't, but I'm not aware of it.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I'm saying, cause you both none of you would not have been prepared for something like that at all. It's not something you got to teach us college. In the case of you, Miss Nevin.
Not so. No, 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 not at all.
So
Individually, sorry, I think the visually impaired students from Salvation Army did go to other high schools, though. I believe so. I don't think it's only Meadowbrook.
mm-hmm.
But,
Okay.
but possibly, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure. I guess because Meadowbrook is so close to the school, Salvation Army, I mean,
The one on Manning's
you know,
Road.
yeah, the one on Manzing Road. So I suppose it, yeah,
Yeah, may have had a connection, and maybe the church had that something to do with it and all that sort of thing. So yeah,
perhaps.
yeah, but it must have been a different kind of experience though. I just I thought about it. I never thought about it before. Till they bring it up. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, I just say, how did they, but you're right. And them a come and tell us, them listen, them watch the movie. Them may not tell us, them listen.
Yes, you watch the movie.
Yeah,
yeah,
no. And the mind is a powerful thing when you can visualize things, man. That is
definitely.
something else. That's something else. So you mentioned something earlier, Miss Nevins. You mentioned that when you said the Meadowbrook uniform, and let me ask you the question this way. What you remember most about Meadowbrook when you say the uniform? What's the most memorable thing you remember back when you think about Meadowbrook?
As I said before, the kind of caring environment that I was nurtured in as a young professional.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see the uniform, it takes me right back to there. And of course, that's my first school that I taught. So I have very fond memories of Meadowbrook.
Mm-hmm.
It has helped me to be the professional that I ended up to be in the end. So really and truly, anywhere I see the uniform, I feel good. It's like something just light up in you when you see the uniform. That's how I feel.
Yeah, so we feel about it too as students. It's like you become of age at Meadowbrook, which is
Exactly.
you became of age. It's like because both of you were very young teachers, and it's like you blossom at Meadowbrook, and it's like the nurturing environment where and
Yeah,
if
when I think of Meadowbrook and how it allowed me to grow, really, you know, I
mm-hmm,
have seen others in who have been at schools for umpteen years and they never moved.
mm-hmm,
But at Meadowbrook, you were encouraged to go and upgrade yourself, that sort of thing. So we did our upgrading and so forth.
yeah,
So, you know, it was like that. And then the persons around you were doing it. So you were also motivated to go and do it as well.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It was a competitive environment, but it was a friendly environment at the same time.
A nice, friendly environment. And when I think about all the leaders and those persons who were in authority there, who never really showed you that they were in authority, you knew that they were in authority,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Right.
respected them. You respected them. You respect. There was mutual respect. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that is the boy. Meadowbrook becomes my yardstick when I go out there. Tell you the truth. That's what I use as my yardstick. Because when we come to the country, to be honest with you, I thought that country children would have been easier to manage,
Yeah.
but it was not so. I found that it was not so. And I used a lot of what I garnered at Meadowbrook to help me to propel these students in a different direction, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
kind of discipline. For example, I must say, when I left Meadowbrook, I spent 1 week at York Castle.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I never stayed there was a boy just walked into my class, took up a chair. And when I spoke to him, him did find it very offensive and said, well, waited for me at the door and say, you will never get away with it as long as you're at Castle. That sort of thing.
What you saying to
And and then when I mentioned it to the senior persons there, they didn't see anything wrong with it. And I said, well, this is not the place for me.
Indiscipline
What you saying to me?
and
Oh my,
disrespectful.
Yeah, not the place for me. I never had it that way. I never knew of it that way. Never knew it could happen that way either. And
yeah.
so, you know,
Yeah, you were saying, Mrs. Bramley, you sound like you want to mention something pertaining to that.
No, I was just saying that is shocking news to me. Not that the student disrespected her. What is shocking to me is the reaction of the
the
stu- you
staff,
know the staff. That is the
yeah,
shock to me. You know what I'm saying?
Because that would have never happened at Meadowbrook at all. That would have never.
never,
As,
No,
mu-
that
as,
is
never,
that's it.
never.
as much as Meadowbrook was laid back, that would have never happened at all. Because I just say, that in a sense, it was a quiet disciplinary environment at Meadowbrook, Certain we just not
Yeah,
tolerate at all.
that wouldn't work.
No,
That couldn't
Would not work.
work. Mm-mm.
wouldn't work at all.
Not with Spanner. Not with Spanner.
No, Spanish that tighten up that long time, yes.
I not that long time. Not with Spanner.
And you know what though? Let me tell you how Meadowbrook was, and maybe we'll never understand this. From a perspective of students, other students would that deal with him long time.
I had the exact thought,
Ah,
Tony.
okay,
I'm telling you,
I
okay.
had the
Mrs.
exact
Bramley and Miss
thought.
Nevins, that would have never any other student that
Yeah,
you say a man or a boy, I'm gonna call boy, because if I this is a teacher, and next student would have come and say, no, you can't do that.
yes, exactly.
I had a bigger film see me and I said, no man, you can't do that. You can't deal with Miss Barbara that way there, my sister and that you can't come talk to her that way there. You must be mad. Me I telling you that, from our perspective, and Margaret I
No, it's
confirmed that.
true. I've had that experience where I've seen students take other students aside and said, no, not today, not tomorrow, not never.
Yeah, now I go deal with the teacher them
Yeah, man.
No man. We added them back, man. I
And it wasn't just with the teachers, it was also with other students.
Yes.
Yeah, man. The students instill discipline as well. It wasn't just from the
No, it wasn't necessarily the teacher thing. No.
Yeah.
We discipline yourself, man. A man have step out the line. I said, no, man, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't. And you're right, Margaret. It wasn't but with the teacher them alone. A man have step out the line with another student. Because even Jerry talked about it one time, remember. And I think I was in first or second farm. I'm a good friend. He's smaller than me. I'm talking about him all the while. Robert Dewey. He's not no longer with us. And a guy, I try to bully him. Jerry was at school at the time too. When I went to school, Jerry was in sixth farm. And Jerry just walk up behind the guy where I try to bully him, my friend. And just slap him in the mid back and say, where do? So I'm saying to him, never knew him from nothing, but he said, no man, you can't come bully nobody at Meadowbrook. That's the point I make.
Oh.
Yeah.
That environment was there from and I don't know where it come from. Maybe it started from before, but it's like
Started.
yeah, that taught that discipline where we discipline each other and say, no man, you're not gonna come bully nobody. I said that's why the environment at Meadowbrook was so good.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that's a simple story that Miss Nevins you talk about. That should have never happened at Meadowbrook, man.
Never. And then you see it kind of shocking to me because I'm not accustomed to it. And so I said, no way.
Yeah, you had to leave.
Mercy.
Yes, I just didn't go back. I didn't go back. 1 week.
And you're right.
And I didn't go back.
It's shocking. Kaya says a country school, that thinks a country people more
A
disciplined.
country school, and you think, say, the country children more, you can really deal with them. Like you think that would be easier to deal with. And I tell you, it's a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call for me when I came back to the country.
No, that wasn't happening at Meadowbrook at all. You're mad, man. That never go happen.
But never.
We'd have put a stop to that long time. We'd have said, no, man, you're mad. But let me ask both of your question. Because Mrs. Bramley, I didn't ask you this question when you were there, and I'm going to ask Miss Nevins first, and you can think about it while she answering. And I'm going to thank, and I don't know if you remember them, Richard and Ian Chung. I went to thank Ian Chung for this question I'm going to ask, Because Ian Chung, you remember him? You remember Mrs. Bramley?
I think so. Them had a gas station in New Kingston, him dad or family.
I'm not certain.
Anyway,
yeah, man, I used to play cricket. So Ian said to me, I was asked, and you first, Miss Nevin, you answer this first. How does it make you feel? I bring back all these Meadowbrook memories after 40 years. How it make you feel? I think both the memories, yeah.
We want to answer.
Miss Nevins first. Miss Nevins.
Nevins.
It makes me feel good. As I say, that's the best part of my career. The foundation was laid there. And so it really makes me feel good reflecting, because when you sent me those magazines, and I started to look through as much as I could and look at the names. There are some names that you remember. Some of the students you remember very well. Some, remember, but when you look back, it sort of jog your memory a lot, So there are some students you're really off with, you have to say, oh, yeah. So it's really good to have that kind of, information. But it is good to reflect. It is always good to reflect. You think of the good times, you think of the bad times, and you think of the things that you have learned, that you improve, and it helps you to be a success, because that was your foundation. That's my foundation.
Yeah.
And I must mention also that I remember when I retired, And I went to the pensions office and I saw Joseph Mills. I remembered his name quite well. And I said, I didn't remember the Mills part, but I remember the Joseph part. So I said to the person in the office, is that Joseph? And he said, yes, Mr. Mills. And I said, okay. So I went to him and I said, Joseph Mills, do you remember me? And he said, no. Who are you? I said, you don't remember me. And he said, no. I said, well, you went to Meadowbrook High School? And he said, yes. I said, well, I taught you math at Meadowbrook. And he said, oh, Miss Nevins. Oh, him remember me very skinny, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little not so skinny now. So he used his hand to say, I remember you like this, but now you are. But now I look at your face, him say, I remember you. So I said, well, my dear, I just said, well, my dear, I took care of you at Meadowbrook. Now it's your turn
You pull
to
rank
take
on
care
him.
of me. Oh, yeah. And he did take care of me,
Good.
I must say. He did take care of me. He said, I'll give you my number, but do not give it to anybody. And, you know, when everything was ready, and so he was there, he called me and he was very helpful. And so I benefited.
That's
That's
good.
what you get as a teacher. So reflecting helps you,
Yeah.
you know, to go back to some of those days.
Yeah, that's
And you know what would be good? If we could really sort of come together, you know, if we could have a little something or bring
like a
some of
reunion
us
like.
together. Yes, some of us together would be very good.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So I spoke to somebody about that today, and there's something in the works.
Okay.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
Not the regular events that you got to, and there's music and all that stuff. Something a little simpler where you can
Hey, what?
interact.
It's really just bringing together. You know, it's the coming together that is
Yes,
It's
important.
ma'am.
not too
Yeah.
formal. Kind of formal. You could get together, Margaret. That's what you're
Yes.
talking about. Yeah.
Right. Good.
No big deal, no pressure, not like that at all. That's all right. I can meet up there. So yeah. That would be nice. That would be nice. So you, Mrs. Bramley, how does it make you feel? I bring up back all these Meadowbrook memories.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, really great, and it's good to know that as a teacher, well, me as a teacher had an impact on so many students' lives. And also it's good to hear. I mean, while I was there, it's like I was oblivious to other things happening in the school. So it's good to hear what was happening in the cricket, in the football, people's stories about how Miss McLennan was good to them, or I mean, just all the stories surrounding their lives at school. It sort of brings a sort of completeness to the experience there at school in at Meadowbrook. That's how I feel about it. It's so interesting, you know what I mean?
It kind of.
And yeah, and then you interacted with students and you didn't know what struggles they might have been going through or what their triumphs were or all of those things or what happened to them afterwards. So it's really nice to hear that as well. And coming from what Sonia said this evening, you know, it's a big lesson for us never to write off somebody, the 12% story, never to write off anybody and to always try and find a way to assist or to help others, that sort of thing. But it's really fantastic. I mean, I've had a, you know, an enjoyable after evening again tonight. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's great. It's really great. It's really great. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
definitely.
as simple as you take it, Miss Nevins, we have been here for almost 2 hours, 45 minutes. And that's about,
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, man, that's how the time fly off when we start talk. And I have just a couple more questions to ask. And not really a question, but let me ask this way. And well, all three of you can answer this. And you first, Miss Nevins, is there any question or topic where I like make a comment about that you didn't think I bring up? Because at a time, people come on these
Say that
conversations.
again.
Any
I
questions?
missed.
Any question or any topic? Anything you want to comment about that you think I could have bring up that I didn't bring up at all? The floor is yours then. That's what I'm saying. Anything that jar your memory. And I said, boy, I don't want Jelly never even ask the question there,
Oh boy. We focused a lot on the interaction between the students and the teachers. And we forget like maybe the admin, the admin people.
Yeah.
We didn't
Yeah, like the
we
bursars and the
the
secretaries
bursar and those people
and the
because
yeah, and the auxiliary
you
staff.
know
Yes,
right
supporting
you
staff.
know
Yeah,
the support staff.
yeah.
I think those persons played a great part also in the development of the institution, and I do have memories of those persons as well. Maybe names. I'm not very good sometimes with names, but you know,
You
and the
remember?
church. Not to forget that it was a church school, and so the church really played a role in the development of the institution.
Yeah, that is true.
So I don't know how you could. I remember Reverend Daly and
Oliver Daly, yes,
Reverend
yeah.
Cook,
Uh-huh.
Reverend Cook, and those persons. Um, you know how they would come and have their
The morning devotions,
um,
yes, yes.
devotions and so on and so forth. To set the tone for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
for the
yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah.
school. hmm
Yeah, that's
That
important
sort
to
of thing.
mention, Miss Nevins, you're right? Because I mean, it was a church school, but it never felt like a church school. But the church,
No,
and that's a good thing, in my mind. It was not overbearing presence at the church, but say the
the
guidance of the
church
church
was
was
there.
always there. Yes,
hmm
yeah, yeah, yeah. That is true. I'm glad you mentioned that. Glad you mentioned that. So, Margaret, is there any question on the topic that you like comment on that I didn't bring up at all, or any questions you didn't think I asked Miss Nevins?
Actually, no. And I wanted to ask Miss Nevins if she's still in Jamaica because somebody asked me that today.
Oh yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am very much here. I'm
Okay.
in St. Anne.
Yeah, she's still their
That's my father's parish.
still their country, Margaret.
That's
You
true.
can't tell them she's still their country.
Yes, but their country, do country things.
Yeah, man. And I want to say, Miss Nevins, listening to your responses showed who your mentor, your earliest mentor really was. Because you reminded me of Spanner and how you spoke.
No, that is true, You're right about that, Margaret. That is so true to right.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Not the same exact tone or anything like that, but the same kind of cadence.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, man, it reminded me of Spanner,
It's
but
like
a softer Spanner, not the one that tighten up thing.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
No, but you're right. No, as you mentioned that, Margaret, you're so right about that, Because you're listening and I say, God, that's how Miss McLean that talk to us, That's like how Miss Evans talking, same way,
Yeah. Just not a Spanish. She's just a gentler.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah.
introverted.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
my Lord.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the tonality and
Well,
all that sort of thing is like, same way Miss McLean
Yeah.
that talking to.
remember she had me listening to her speech, them,
Yeah,
and some other little things.
well,
Oh
she'll be proud
God.
of you, Miss Devin. She'll hear this conversation wherever she's at now. She'll be proud that Margaret
I would
recognized.
have I would have redeemed myself.
Yes. Yours is sound Margaret, the same response I
Yeah.
say, Exactly. Spirit immersive. So, Mrs. Bramley, any question on the topic that you didn't think I asked Miss Nevins that you like me ask, or anything you want to ask her?
Just to ask her, think I kind of know the answer, but if you can just let those listening know what you did after. I mean, have you always been in education since Meadowbrook, or did you branch into other, areas of, other a different career path or what, So that's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, well, I spent some time at the community college, Brownstown Community College, after going to another school. And then I went into the Ministry of Education. So I ended my career as an education officer.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So now I am a shopkeeper.
Yeah, that's a real country thing. No worry, that's a big time.
Yes, I do. But I do books. I do books.
The
Books
books.
is what
Okay.
I'm,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
books. And from time to time, I put up some little things in my shop, some little words on speech or whatever,
Okay.
just to
Okay. I got you.
motivate.
I got you. I got you.
And you say you're in
That's me.
Brownstown?
No, I'm outside of Brownstone. I'm in Alexandria, to be exact.
And
Brownstone
what's
is
the
only
name of
10.
your shop?
Oh, my shop is called the Business Center.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been
The
to
next
Alex,
time,
so I have to
the
check.
next time I come to Jamaica and I go to that man, you know the pudding man?
Yeah, man, they put in man the way down and a Brownstone there, so.
Me know son of Brownstown
Priory. Mm-hmm.
Alexandria is
Hello?
close. It's close to the border. At Trelawny, Miss Nevins.
No, really, it's we're closer to Brownstone.
Closer to Brownstone. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get my geography right. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the last question I have for Miss Nevins, because I have the first question and I have the last question. And the last question is, what made Meadowbrook magical?
What made Meadowbrook magical for me? As I said, set the tone for my development. And we now go open this other part. But that was also magical.
No, what I'm saying, that one is behind the paid wall. Don't worry. We're coming up with one of those. Behind the paid wall, if you want to hear that one, they want to pay a fee. Don't worry.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But, um, it was a good experience. The experience was excellent. And as I said, it put me on the right career developmental path.
Mm-hmm.
So it set that tone, and the people I worked with were really marvelous, awesome people. I would do it all over again. I really enjoyed like the evenings with the badminton and those things. I enjoyed working with Mrs. Griffiths on those papers. Oh, I enjoyed my moments in the staff room.
Great memories.
And I enjoyed my students. Yeah. And there are some students I remember just off the bat like that, So that's what made it magical.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, this is a wonderful conversation. But before I close it out, then any closing remarks, Margaret? Margaret, you there or you on mute? What's she gone? Oh, yeah, Margaret, any closing remarks? I'm not hear her.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I see her on
She was
there.
on mute. She gone, she'll come back in. Are you go, Mrs. Bramley? Any closing remark before Miss Nevins? Are Margaret, you back?
No.
Yeah, any closing remarks, Margaret? Go ahead.
I just want to say to Ms. Nevins, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I really enjoyed this podcast. And I want to say thank you for being our first form teacher and for setting the tone of our 5 or 6 or 7 years, whatever it was, at Meadowbrook High School. We really appreciate it. I'm saying it on behalf of class 1A1 of the group that came in 1978, pardon me. As I said, I spoke to 2 of your other students this morning, and both of them had the same exact words to describe you, which says a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you too, because, it is the students who make it happen. Without you, I wouldn't have a class. And so I want to thank you also for that wonderful experience.
Awesome.
I remember you all with love.
Okay.
Mrs. Bramley, any closing remarks?
So good to be, here on the, what you call it, a podcast again.
Conversation, Mrs. Bramley. Don't frighten nobody out in a podcast.
Conversation, and so nice to hear Sonia after all of this time. I mean, we talk in quotations on Facebook from time to time, but it's nice to really, hear your voice and hear what's happening and what the impact was of Meadowbrook and what your impact was there as well. So it's been great. And yeah, man, and Margaret, nice to hear from you as well. And
Thank
Mr.
you.
Prince, yes, we will be in touch because football still a go on.
Yes, the World Cup still a go on. Just to get in that. When I struggle with that, but just get in that up. So, Miss Nevins, any closing remarks before I close this out?
Just to say thank you for making this happen, because sometimes when you do serve and you move on, sometimes you are forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is a great experience to even share in this format. So we want to thank you so much for engaging us in this way. Thanks again.
Yeah, man.
Wonderful.
The honor is all mine. I must tell you that. When I started all these conversations, I didn't know other people are interested to come here. I just think I just a cricketer them don't want to come talk to me. But it has branched out to here. People want to come tell them stories. So I'm honored. I'm honored, Miss Nevins. I am
Yes,
honored, and I appreciate
it is great.
I appreciate you finding the time to come and spend the 2 hours with us this evening. So, but anyway, Margaret Livermore, thank you for finding the time to come this evening. Mrs. Helen Barber Bramley and Sonia Nevins, I want to thank you all for coming to come share the Meadowbrook. Come help Miss Nevins share our Meadowbrook memories. And God bless us all. And God bless
Amen.
And God bless that great school at Meadowbrook, what gave us the opportunity for we can there talk about the memories there like I yesterday same way. I'm happy for that. So
Exactly.
thank you all for coming and I appreciate it. God bless us all and God bless Meadowbrook High School at the same time.
Amen. And thank you for having us.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Have a good night. Thanks, Miss Nevins.
All right. Walk good.
Yeah, man.
Good.
All right.
Thank
cool.
you.
Thanks. Yeah, man.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Meadowbrook Memories. And remember to give us all the support and encouragement you can on whatever social media platform you are listening. And special thanks to my production manager, Kyle Prince, who takes care of everything involved in getting the podcast out every week. And without him, this podcast would not be possible. It is his expertise that allows me to do what I love doing every week, having great conversations about Meadowbrook memories, and he's responsible for everything else. So again, thanks to my production manager, Kyle Prince. So subscribe to Meadowbrook Memories YouTube channel right now and never miss another memorable conversation.